If you're struggling to save money right now, it has absolutely nothing to do with discipline. Your brain is quite literally running a broken operating system. Behavioral scientists have studied this for over 20 years, and they found that below one very specific dollar amount, your cognitive capacity actually drops. But the moment you cross this invisible line, everything changes. Picture two people. Same company, same salary, same city. One makes every money decision from a place of fear, the other from a place of absolute choice. The difference isn't income. It isn't how they were raised. The difference is exactly $20,000. This is the baseline. And this video is the exact mathematical protocol to get your brain across that line faster than you think. Think about the last time money felt genuinely tight, not a little stretched, uncomfortably tight. Running numbers in your head at the grocery store, lying awake doing math that doesn't quite add up no matter how many times you run it. That experience isn't just stressful. It's physically changing how your brain processes every decision you make. Researchers at Princeton University ran a series of experiments on financial pressure. They wanted to know whether financial anxiety simply made people feel distracted, or whether it actually reduced their cognitive capacity. The results were stark. People under significant financial stress performed measurably worse on tests of abstract reasoning, impulse control, and long-term planning. Not because they were less intelligent, because their prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making and forward thinking, was overwhelmed. Behavioral economists call this scarcity cognition, and it does three specific things to your decisions. First, it narrows your focus. Your attention collapses toward immediate threats and away from long-term opportunity. You stop asking where you want to be in 5 years. You start asking how you get through this month. Second, it shortens your planning horizon. Under resource pressure, your brain deprioritizes anything that doesn't solve the problem directly in front of you. Future returns feel abstract. Present costs feel urgent. Third, it makes risk asymmetric. Losses feel disproportionately large and gains feel disproportionately small. You systematically undervalue opportunities and overvalue danger, every single time. Here's what that looks like in real life. You took the first job offer instead of the best one, because waiting felt like a risk you couldn't absorb. You didn't push in a negotiation, because the deal was close enough and losing it felt catastrophic. You said yes to things you didn't want, because you needed the relationship to work out financially. You didn't take the risk that might have changed everything, because you couldn't afford to be wrong. None of those were bad decisions given your context. They were your brain doing exactly what it evolved to do: optimize for survival under pressure. The problem isn't that you made bad choices. The problem is that scarcity cognition blocks the exact kinds of choices that build wealth. You cannot plan long-term when your present feels like a threat. You cannot take calculated risks when every risk feels existential. You cannot see opportunity when your brain is running survival calculations in the background, continuously, all day. This is the broken brain, and the only fix isn't trying harder. It's a specific number. So why $20,000? Not $5,000, not $100,000. Why this threshold? For most Americans, $20,000 sits in the range of 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses. That range matters, not because of what you can buy with it, but because of what it signals to your nervous system. At $20,000, a single financial emergency, a job loss, a medical bill, a major unexpected expense, no longer automatically cascades into debt. Your brain knows this, not consciously, but your nervous system runs this calculation continuously. And when your savings cross that threshold, something measurable changes in how your brain classifies your situation. The Vanguard Institute tracked this directly. People with 3 to 6 months of expenses saved reported a 34% reduction in financial anxiety, without any change in income, without cutting expenses, without any external improvement to their situation at all. Their brain simply reclassified their status from threatened to secure. That reclassification changes everything. When your brain classifies you as threatened, the question it asks about every decision is, can I survive this? When it classifies you as secure, the question shifts to, is this worth it? Those are completely different questions. And they lead to completely different lives. Can I survive this narrows your focus to the immediate problem. Is this worth it opens your focus to every available option. I call this threshold the abundance baseline. Not because life above it is automatically abundant. It isn't, not yet. But because it's the minimum level of security your brain needs to stop running survival calculations and start running opportunity calculations. Below the abundance baseline, you're managing financial life. Above it, you're building it. The gap between managing and building isn't work ethic or intelligence. It's $20,000. Now, here's the mathematical lever the 99% completely miss, and it changes how you think about the journey to get there. Let's say you're putting away $800 a month with a 7% annual return. Getting to your first $20,000 takes about 23 months. Your second $20,000 doesn't take 23 months, it takes 19. Same savings rate, same discipline, but your first $20,000 is now working alongside you. Your third, 16 months. Your fourth, 14. Your fifth, 12. Each milestone comes faster. Not because you changed anything, but because the math is doing an increasing share of the work. At $200,000 in investments, your money generates roughly $14,000 per year on its own. Over $1,000 every month in passive growth before you've saved a single dollar from your paycheck. Every dollar below $20,000, you're doing all the work alone. Every dollar above it, the math starts pulling with you. The hardest $20,000 to save is the first one, not because of discipline, because you're doing it entirely by yourself. But once you cross it, you unlock an asset that standard financial advice completely ignores. And if you want the exact blueprints to build these kinds of assets every single week, hit subscribe right now. Because at $20,000, you unlock walking away money. The absolute power to reject a job that's diminishing you and survive for months while you find one that doesn't. The leverage to stand up in a negotiation because you don't actually need their yes right now. The freedom to exit any situation that is costing you more than money. But here is the ultimate paradox of walking away money. You almost never have to use it. MIT researchers studying financial decision-making found that people with 3 or more months of savings made significantly better career decisions. Not because their skills improved, but because their optionality improved. They could afford to be selective. So they were. The presence of the option changes the decision, even when you don't exercise it. When you walk into a negotiation knowing you can walk away, your posture changes. Your voice changes. The questions you're willing to ask change. The person across the table doesn't know your bank balance, but they feel the difference between someone who needs the outcome and someone who is choosing it. That's the identity shift $20,000 creates. You stop being someone who accepts what's available. You start being someone who chooses what's acceptable. Now I need to tell you about the trap. Because everything I just described creates a very predictable danger. You hit $20,000. You feel the shift. The psychological relief is real. The reduced background noise, the quiet confidence, the sense that you've actually built something. And then a voice says, "You've worked hard. You deserve a reward. New car, a trip, something you've been putting off." And just like that, you're back below the line. Here's what that actually costs you. If you pull $20,000 out at month 23, you don't just lose $20,000. At a 7% annual return, that $20,000 becomes $78,000 in 20 years. The real cost of that purchase wasn't $20,000. It was $78,000. And 2 more years of building your brain back out of survival mode. The $20,000 isn't the reward. It's the floor. The minimum viable security your brain needs to function differently. So how do you build it and protect it? Forget standard budgeting. To rewire your brain, you need a strict 5-step neurofinancial protocol, in this exact order. Protocol 1. Margin extraction. Find the gap. Any margin in your monthly cash flow, even $50. If there's no gap, you reduce an expense or you add income. There is no third option. Protocol 2. The zero friction transfer. Amateurs stop at the gap. You have to lock it in. Automate before your conscious brain sees the money. The exact second you get paid, a fixed amount redirects to the floor. You eliminate the decision-making process entirely. Protocol 3. The systemic tax. Treat this transfer like a non-negotiable bill. It is fixed. It happens every single month, regardless of how the month went. You owe the floor before you owe anyone else. Protocol 4. Windfall capture. This next protocol gets skipped constantly, yet it's the exact move that cuts a full year off your timeline. Tax refunds, bonuses, unexpected income. Before dopamine tricks you into a plan for that money, 100% of it goes to the floor. Protocol 5. The phantom purge. You have at least one recurring cost right now that would disappear from your memory within a week of canceling it. Find it. Kill it. Route that exact amount to the baseline. At $500 a month, you hit the $20,000 baseline in 40 months, 3.5 years. Those years will pass regardless. The only question is whether you arrive with a foundation or without one. Here's what I want you to hold on to. The two people I described at the start, same salary, completely different brain. They're not separated by intelligence, character, or willpower. One of them crossed a threshold that changed the architecture of every financial decision they make after it. That threshold is available to you. With a specific number, a specific mechanism, and a specific timeline. Get above the abundance baseline. Protect it, add to it, and watch what happens. Not just to your bank balance, but to the decisions you start making, the leverage you start carrying, and the options you start seeing. There's a second shift, that the middle class gets completely wrong, and it costs them years. That video is on screen right now. And drop a comment below. Where are you right now on the journey to $20,000? I read every single one.